All right. Good morning. If you would please, I'll now call the meeting to order. If you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Up first on the agenda is the approval of the May 6th Town Council meeting memoranda. A copy's been posted. Are there any questions from councilors?
I have a correction. On page 41 of 51, it says that I asked the question and the favors have been contacted about this. It's supposed to be, and the neighbors.
Okay, I will correct it.
All right. Anything else from councilors? I would entertain a motion.
I
Move
move
to-
to,
Go ahead.
I move to approve the town council meeting memoranda dated May 6, 2024 with the correction that I suggested.
I got a first from Councilor Sampson, a second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda is the approval of the May 20th, 2024 claims. Are there questions from councilors? Having none, I will make a motion to approve claims.
Second.
A second from Councilor Norris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a request to speak on agenda items. Amy, do we have any requests to speak?
No, we do not.
All right, moving along quickly to the mayor and administration update. Mayor Stair, good morning.
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 Morning, everyone. It's good to be here. I just have a couple of quick updates to start us off here. First is software for our planning and building department operations. We have been looking at this from the beginning of the year. Not only are we not up to date with private businesses in this regard, but we're also lagging behind our peer communities and having a digital profile for permitting and inspection applications. The goal is to create a better user experience for our constituents and also better efficiency for our employees. So I wanted to update you on where we are right now with that. Our team is looking at several vendors, and we have not yet seen all the demos. So once we compare the solutions, we can choose the one that is best for us. Now, the trajectory on all this is that this is likely something that would be an expense for 2025, so it would not impact this year's budget. Also, an IT assessment. We have become aware that it's been more than 3 years since we've had an independent information technology assessment. It is good practice to do this once every 2 or 3 years to look for strengths and weaknesses in our IT system. It is not limited to cybersecurity. This is to look at all of our systems to make sure we are operating as efficiently and economically as possible. Now, we do have a proposal in hand, and we are meeting next week with one vendor. We are working to fit that under our existing budget, so I do not anticipate coming to the council to ask for a new appropriation to cover this expense at this time. Also on May 9th, we had our inaugural all-employee drive-through breakfast here at Town Hall. We offered everyone a breakfast muffin, some fruit, water, a small gift of appreciation for their efforts on the town's behalf. Joe, we can go ahead to the next slide to show some pictures of that. This event coincided with Public Servant Recognition Week, and we had nearly full participation from our staff, including Councilor Stein and Sampson, who showed up. We were glad to see you there. But it was really gratifying to be able to recognize our town staff, which is really our best and most important asset that we have here in Zionsville. And we do plan to do it again next year to coincide with the same week. You may have also noticed that our police department continues to be more public-facing. The sign marking the building is now installed. I took this picture last week before the electricians had a chance to come in and light it up. So it now lights up with LED lights at night, so it's very visible. The cost on this was $7,500, and the chief was able to work this into his allocation of ARPA funds that has been used for the renovation of the police department. And speaking of that renovation, after a slowdown due to some difficulty in sourcing materials, we are back on track. It includes new flooring, paint, and repair of some of the building's mechanical systems, including the Sally Port garage doors, which are important to police operations. So we are making very good progress there. And then one other item, in our continuing effort to build good relationships with our friends in Whitestown, our Parks Departments coordinated the inaugural Town Showdown last Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. People came north from Zionsville and south from Whitestown to meet at Heritage Trail Park, where we had games and food trucks, and E-Boom Bike Shop was there to do free tune-ups on bikes for the summer. It was really a great event, and we hope that this is the first of many joint efforts like this with Whitestown. I will note real quickly here, it culminated in the awarding of the Golden Bicycle Wheel to the town that had the most participants, and I'm sorry to say that Whitestown outnumbered us by about 12 people, although this was the night of the show choir finale, so that could have tainted the numbers just a little bit here in Zionsville. But that means that they will hold on to the traveling trophy until next year, when we hope to take it back from them. So that's all I have this morning. Any questions or any concerns, comments?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, up next on the agenda is old business. Item 7A, consideration of a resolution approving the order of the Zionsville Plan Commission. This is the Century Resolution 2024-12. We have Heather James here for the petitioner.
Good morning, everybody. So you'll recall, this is simply the resolution approving the Plan Commission order that approves the declaratory resolution that the Redevelopment Commission adopted to expand the Holiday Farms Economic Development Area and create the Century Allocation Area. So this is not one of the bond approval steps. It is simply a TIF approval step. So the Redevelopment Commission and the Plan Commission have already taken action. We're asking you to adopt this resolution approving the Plan Commission order, and then we will go back to the Redevelopment Commission so that they can hold a public hearing and then consider adoption of a confirmatory resolution, and then we'll be back before you again to ask you to approve final creation of this allocation area. So this is a very short and sweet resolution. This is actually the one that was supposed to be on your agenda at the last meeting, and then there was confusion and the wrong resolution was attached. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on this one.
Very helpful, Heather. So the development agreement that's still in the works.
Yep.
That's a different. That has nothing to do with this particular
Correct.
piece of legislation.
Correct. Update on that, though. There have been drafts going back and forth, and I think we'll have that wrapped up probably this week.
And what was the vote by the Plan Commission on this item?
The Plan Commission approved their order that approves the declaratory resolution. And so now this resolution simply is a resolution by the council approving the action of the Plan Commission and determining that their action is in line with the plan of economic development for the town.
Heather, what would be the downside of continuing this until June when we also pass everything at once we have a signed development agreement?
So statutorily, there is an order that is required, and we cannot go to the Redevelopment Commission and ask them to hold their public hearing and consider adoption of the confirmatory resolution unless and until the council takes this step. And so we would then, if you did not approve this today, then we would not be able to go on to the next step with the Redevelopment Commission. And we cannot have you adopt the other TIF resolution approving the area until the Redevelopment Commission adopts their confirmatory resolution. So it is a two-step process for the council.
But that was on the agenda last time.
It was on the agenda last time, but unfortunately, somebody attached the wrong resolution. They attached the resolution that we'll have before you on June 3rd, and so that's why we pushed this resolution to this meeting.
So this has to go to the RDC, this goes to the RDC, and then the other piece that we're talking about that has the development agreement in it. I get that there's a timeline, but in my mind, that's 2 weeks away. I don't know that it's a significant hold for them to have 2 more weeks. I don't even know when they meet again.
The Redevelopment Commission is meeting on May 28th, so They wouldn't be able to move forward on the TIF side of things unless you take this action today. They could consider the TIF pledge resolution, which pledges the TIF to the repayment of the bonds, and they could move forward with the development agreement, but they would not be able to move forward with the TIF confirmatory resolution.
I guess my frustration is in that, months of conversation and then all of a sudden the development agreement just kind of gets set aside. And I get now that everybody's crunching to move the timeline forward. And I think even at the meeting you said that would probably be June. And there's some language going back and forth, so that's encouraging. But the fact that we had to wait until the last meeting to kind of really get some urgency around that is just frustrating, because that could have been done and we could be moving this whole project forward right now.
Understood. I guess I haven't been spearheading the conversations and the negotiation of the development agreement. So that's been handled by other folks, but I understand your frustration on that point. I guess it has been being negotiated on an ongoing basis. And I think that the conversation around the trail somewhat changed in the last several weeks. So, I think that there's been positive movement over the last week or so. And I, again, expect them to wrap up that development agreement negotiation yet this week. And before we come back to the redevelopment commission or before this council for final approvals, that development agreement should be good to go.
Yeah, I think I would just, to your point, obviously the process seems a little disjointed without having that, but I also am sensitive to the fact that this particular step is different than this step is required to get to the point where there is an ultimate approval regardless. I think initially when we found out there wasn't a development plan that included everything with that particular trail, I was a little frustrated too, but understanding that there's, again, a couple of more whacks at this before it gets done, I think I'm comfortable with this.
No, I hear what you're saying. It's just that we continue to move this down, and then in my mind, if that agreement doesn't get finished, I don't think the entire project should move forward.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think what we can do is that the next meeting will be the big TIF omnibus package. And if we don't have that development agreement in plan, just like we said at the last meeting, we'll kick it down the road. So I guess it's an incumbent upon the developer and the RDC right now to be working on that if they want to get through the next meeting where we vote on the big package. That would be my 2 cents on it.
I would suggest that in the future, before moving forward with the bond-related steps, it makes absolute sense to get the project agreement out of the way. But this step is a part of the creation of the allocation area, and this, to me, is a step that is logical to take on the front end, completely separate from the development agreement.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from councilors?
I guess I just one more follow-up to that. If we approve this and then we don't approve the next step, what's the ramification of what we've done?
Nothing, because the TIF area is not actually created until you take the final TIF step. So, we've not actually created the area until we go fully through the process.
Okay.
Anything else, councilors? I would make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-12. Second from Councilor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 6 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance authorizing investments and deposits. This is ordinance 2024-13. This is a final reading, and we have Cindy Poor, Director of Finance and Records, to present. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning. As you said, this is the second reading of this. We are required by statute to present this to council for approval once a year and to at least review to see if there are any changes that need to be made. As stated last time, the major change that took place in this was section 5, which speaks about prudence. That was the major change, not from the last meeting, but from last year.
Can you tell, oh,
No, go ahead. Any questions from counselors?
yeah,
Dr. Melton?
so I read through that whole ordinance, and I was pushing back a little bit because of, it's the same as it was last year, with the exception of prudence and the statement about prudence. So I'm Googling and researching what prudence is just to make sure I understand the use of that word. And what is your interpretation of prudence and the benefit of having that statement in this ordinance as the only change that I could find? You said it's
It was recommended when we were going through this with Baker Tilly. The prudence section was something the GFOA suggested having in there, the Government Finance Officials Association. They suggested having it in there. It's just another level of, making sure that I take the right steps and that making the right decisions, going to the right people, et cetera. So it's just another level of, I can't think of the word I need to, just another level of kind of ethics and security of the process that I go through.
Cindy,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I brought this up. We spoke briefly before the public hearing started with John. Everything looks to be in order. I love the fact that there's going to be a written statement every year for the council to look at. But every 4 years for an independent audit to be conducted, how was 4 years arrived upon as opposed to maybe, let's say, like 2? Given the fact that the selected group could turn over potentially every 4 years.
Sure. That's kind of like the maximum, every 4 years of having your investments audited. Now, sometimes when we go through our actual State Board of Accounts audit, they may look at some of that, maybe at a different level, but they will look at some of that. But as far as the every 4 years, I mean, we could call for an audit on our investments anytime that we want.
Right.
That the 4 years is just kind of like the maximum guideline of what they suggest.
So if we wanted to change it to 2,
Right.
that's just something you would suggest?
I think what I would recommend is leaving it at 4, because here again, that's the maximum guideline. But if it comes to a point where you guys would like to suggest or request us to go ahead and do an audit within that 4 years, we can do that. But we don't have to unless you guys request it within the 4 years. Otherwise, we would just do it every 4 years.
I appreciate the bringing this to us, Cindy. I know this is something we've talked about over the last 2 or 3 years, and quite frankly, I just wasn't comfortable updating it until we had the appropriate checks and balance, internal audit and controls and such, and appreciate your cooperation through Baker Tilly to get us to where we are here. So I do think it's important for council to realize a lot of these things, when they go into these ordinances, are not arbitrary decisions. They're statutory or they're recommendations from bodies that are giving Cindy direct recommendations. So, but
I remember 2 weeks ago, we were hearing from Councilor Stein about changing it from required versus recommended with a review or having you have the authority to make the investments. Did we change anything according to that? Do you still?
No, I mean, I just wanted to kind of visit that and get a feel for what was behind the language. But I'm comfortable with that at this point. It was the other way around, by the way. It was from, I moved on from that.
Okay.
I guess as it pertains to the audit, I would say as long as the investments are part of the financial review that we'll be getting from the mayor, and the accounts are doing what we would expect them to do at a cursory level, then a 4-year audit is probably appropriate. If things don't look right, then we could probably suggest an audit outside of the 4-year term.
I would think the State Board of Accounts annual audit would at least alert us if there were significant dips or concerns on how it was being handled as well. We do have an annual audit. It's just not like from an external point of view. It's just from the state. So there is someone who at least reviews outside of our internal people. I do agree that it's good that we have to do it every 4 years and that we can do it sooner. So I think that should assuage some of your concerns on that.
Yeah, the 4 years here again is the max of what we would do. And, we can call for an audit on that anytime we want.
On that note, where are we in the 4-year cycle? Does it go midway of our current term, or is it in line with our 4 years? Because to me, that would be a way to feel better about it, being people who have been in the weeds and knowing the numbers going on, instead of it maybe right at the beginning or the end of a term. Like, it would be nice if it was midpoint.
So the last policy that was adopted was in December of last year. We decided to go ahead and bring this forward again since we were going through all the other policies, and that way the new council could approve it. So honestly, we're kind of in the beginning of that part. Because prior to that, we did not have a policy in place since about 2018, 19.
So then my suggestion would be not to wait 4 years for this first one,
Sure.
just so that it gets mid-cycle of people that are elected. Maybe we do it at the 2.5, 3-year mark so that we have current council already familiar with the process and numbers, and then it just carries forward that way.
Sure.
Does everyone agree on that?
That's fair.
Okay, and I'm done with my questions. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Cindy? I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-13.
Second.
Second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Last old business item is a consideration of an ordinance adding Title 3, Chapter 34, Section 34.04 to the Zionsville Town Code. This is ordinance 2024-14. This is also a final reading. We have Town Attorney John Oberlander here to present if there are any questions. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Oberlander?
No.
Okay, well, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve on final reading ordinance 2024-14.
Second. First from Counselor Norris, second from Counselor McElderry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. There are no new business items. Are there any other matters from counselors? I have one just real quick. I wanted to offer a brief update on the council's end of the administration's proposal for the South Village PUD. We've had some folks reach out with questions about the role the town council plays. The South Village PUD will be heard by the Planning Commission this evening. Town council members and leadership has met with the mayor and his team to share our thoughts and the thoughts that have been shared with us by residents. As recent as last week, the mayor shared that we will continue to work to make the needed changes to the PUD as it moves through the Planning Commission process. Once that proposal is voted on by the Planning Commission, it'll then come to us for final approval. So this is something, it's just important to make sure that the process is clearly out there, that this is going to the Planning Commission tonight, and it will rest with the Planning Commission until they make their decision, and then it would come to the town council. So just wanted to update everybody on that. Anything else from counselors? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A second from Counselor Stein. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Final notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Thank you.